Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So Gav here, and today we're just going to have a look at this specimen that I think a few of you have been following, and I've had a few questions asking for updates. So the P. regalis with DKS, and Lucy and I were just discussing earlier how long this has been in this state at the minute, and I'm not quite sure when. I'll have to have a look back, but I think it is at least a good 5 months. So what I'm going to do in this video is just show you how obviously I change the enclosure, which we've gone over before in a previous video, so I'll put a link up there above. But what I'm going to do is show you how I tempt the tarantula into feeding when they're in this state where they are obviously ill. They want to move around as least as possible, and they sometimes don't want to eat, so you've also got to like temporarily force feed them to eat. So I do it by hand with this one, but I'm not going to advise anybody else do that. So later on I'm going to show you how we get them to eat just without using your hands. But first off, let's show you how we get them out without stressing them out too much. Whilst doing this, you are going to stress them out, but you've got to move them, you've got to take them out, and you need to clean their environment just to make sure it's more sanitized and it's better for them. So that's just literally the stains on there from defecating and from eating the food supply that we're putting in there as well. So I've got to say, at the minute though, she doesn't look that good, but trust me, she is. This is first thing in the morning. I think this was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and the temperature was dropped overnight and it's starting to pick back up. So it takes her a while to get going, because what I've noticed with her is her movement is getting a lot more sharp, a lot more faster. So she is definitely getting there to be rehoused, but you'll see in a minute with her movement, still a bit shaky. So I'm not going to tempt her to climb, because then she's got to put her weight on her legs, and that would just add to more stress and weaken her down to the point they go into death cow. So they need to be flat just to conserve their energy. But you can see the abdomen there is plump. It's getting plumper, but it's not lumpy, so she's not got any impaction anymore. But what I'm going to do is just get her off here and just have a look at her size, because I did the previous molt and it was 17 centimeters. So that's how big she was. So technically she should be a little bit more, but I'll show you in a second. So you just want to encourage them slightly, nothing too much to freak them out. I think it's about 15-20 minutes to get up to this point, but we've cut it down. So we take our time, just so when she does a shaky movement, we leave her for a bit, just let her gather herself. But you can see the abdomen, and you can see her there. She's got more colour in her skin, and she's moving definitely a lot better. But you'll see in a second, she still has a shaky movement, almost jerky. But just tidying up there, but we're just getting her out. You can still see she's quite big, but we need to get that dirty tissue away and get that cleaned up. So I'm using my fingers here, but I know this girl, but please, for you that have ones like this, don't use your fingers. And there we go. So you can see the movement is slightly sluggish still, and just a little bit jerky. She's fully aware that we are there. I could put my hand next to her, she knows. Sometimes she turns around to us, but I think doing this sort of care up close and personal, she's trusting us a lot more, to the point where I hand fed her, which I wouldn't advise anybody do. Right, so we're going to get ready to put her into her new enclosure. Lucy's got that prepared already, so the ICU is nice and clean. But just look at the abdomen there, you can definitely see it's better. And if you've noticed in the previous videos, you can see the legs are more clumped together. She's starting to stand outwards like a spider does, and she's gripping a lot more, which is very, very good. See if I can get a tape measure and give you a measurement here. Right, so here we go. I've just got it here. See, she's fully aware of me, but because I've got her on the draining board as well, so it's the metal, they can pick up her vibrations through that so much more easier. So you can see there, I think that's showing, what, 15? And she's got her legs not fully stretched out, and you do it from diagonally, so from back leg to front leg on the opposite sides, gives you the cross-sectional area of the spider. But I think she's comfortably 17, just over 17, maybe 18 at a push when she's fully stretched. But she's a big girl. Definite a couple more molts in her, but what we're going to do is put her back in her enclosure and try and feed her, so we can show you as well. So when the tarantula's going off food in DKS, on the previous ones I've had, I didn't feed them at all. I thought, leave them alone, just make sure they've got water and heat to get them through this. But I found that that is not the answer, because they get weaker and weaker you need to force them to eat. If you can get them to eat, it'll prolong them, give them more energy, and inevitably basically get them to force a molt, because I do think this can be brought on from other aspects, but if you look at the way their body is made up of two parts and then all the joining parts with the knees, I think it is an exoskeleton issue, so we need to force a molt. You can see she is moving here quite freely. She's not attempting to strike at all. She knows what we're doing. We do this weekly with her. And then once you've done a movement with her, you can see they just stay still. She relaxes, because if this was fully healthy, she would run away or she would be in threat posture. So she's now in her tub. She knows the environment. She knows the routine now, so she will relax. So the next stressful part for her is for me to engage her to eat, which I'm going to do now to show you, because the easier option is I put a worm or like beetle larvae, a slightly large one, and because it's softer, and I put it under her fangs and then I pull it forward, and then she sort of moves her fangs out and then engages them in the prey and then just stays there and she actually consumes it. But I wouldn't do that if you're unaware of your tarantula. So confident keepers, obviously they can do that themselves. But this is how I'd expect a novice to do that if you want to keep your tarantula with DKS alive. Just poke it in. And what I've slightly done with this Mario web is you squeeze, not the head, but just some way down the body. Squeeze it enough so it can't move too much. It will stay alive, but it's not going to disappear and crawl off behind any of the tissue. So it will still move its feet and the spider can be aware of it there. So I just basically tickle it into position and just keep letting the spider know it's there. One of the other times I did it, she took straight away. Some of the others 10, 15, 20 minutes even, and then she would take. But I think in total on this one, she took about 15 minutes of us changing the angle, maneuvering the worm into a better position. So we shot forward here, so it was another 15 minutes. And she brought her fangs out, put it into the Mario worm, then pulled them straight back out. So she has injected it, but then she's left it alone. But I just encourage her a little bit more to take. So we'll just wait for a second, and I think I have to cut again because I think she waits another 10 minutes, but just wanted to show you as much as I possibly could. So trying to zoom in. You can still see the Mario worm's alive. If it doesn't move, I give it a little nudge just to stimulate her that there's movement there. And a good sign is when they've got DKS and they go to take is they won't bring the fangs out first. The pedipalps will come down and push the prey item into the fangs, because they haven't got enough energy to pull them out. So that's what I've noticed they do. So that's why I get them clearly right by the fangs, so she doesn't really have to do much. And I can tell you now after this video that I think a day later we went back in and she completely consumed it. So normally we don't do it this long. We put her back in the dark and she eats straight away. But I'm doing this purely so you guys can see that she's doing a lot better. The colour looks more vibrant on her legs. Her abdomen's a lot bigger. And here she's sort of slightly moved away, and I know if I put her straight back into our cupboard now, she'll eat it in the dark within the next few hours. But I just wanted to show that she can get hold of this. So I slightly put the camera down, I moved it back in position, sprayed her with some water in the enclosure. You can see that she's actually got the prey item. So didn't get the take. It's not really a take as they normally do. It's just pushed into the fangs and she just injects venom and will slowly chew it away. And hopefully it's getting better. So I hope for all of you that are curious, you like that. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks very much for watching.